Welcome back, everyone. Unfortunately, Team Fish Taco, excuse me, had an unfortunate end there versus AOE. Their next weekend is going to be really tough. But we got another team who is kind of having their backs against the wall, Josh. It's Maryville University. Wildcard, pretty high at the top of the standings, even with a shaky weekend. It's Maryville who had their backs against the wall and need to make every game count.
And Maryville is a team that feels like they've cooled off a little bit based on what we were seeing before. They were doing so well in the first round robin, and in the second round robin, well, it hasn't been the easiest schedule for them so far. They need to start picking up these wins if they want to make sure that they can make it towards playoffs.
And they're facing against Wildcard Gaming, a team that, even though this weekend has not been as big as we've seen from them, especially from them 2-0ing TLC last weekend, this is still a team who is very much competitive at the top end of the standings, Magical.
Yeah, this is still a team that is fighting for third place at the moment because they are 2 games behind FlyQuest. But if they can pick up a 2-0 here, even if it's a 1-1 split that FlyQuest gets on the LCS Challengers broadcast, that could easily make this a lot more competitive going into our final week where they're still only a game behind. I mean, right now it's not looking like they're going to compete with TLC because TLC did get a 2-0 against Supernova. So they are pretty far now away from the rest of the pack in that regard, but Wildcard can easily still fight for that second seed.
Well, that's fair. I was going to say, Wildcard are also the only team so far who has 2-0'd Team Liquid, right?
Yeah, now right. They're 4 games behind. So
true.
If they get the no, they were 4 games behind. Now they're 6 games behind. So even with a 2-0 here, they're still 4 games behind DLC. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think the thing to take away from that one is the game plan that they came through, their resilience, and their creativity is also something that still is going to make them a danger to other teams in the playoffs. So it's something to keep an eye out today and going forward. But Josh, Maryville University, you were touching on them a little bit before. Let's take a look at that roster as well and give a chat about them.
Maryville University has also been a squad that has been super fascinating to watch, right? It feels like they are getting wins off of a lot of teams that they aren't necessarily supposed to, and unfortunately also dropping some games to teams that it feels like they're not supposed to. And so much of this has been based on the fact that whenever they go into their games, it is this top side of the map. Niles, Orange, get back. When they are playing well, it is so hard to actually beat Maryville. But when they are not firing on all cylinders, suddenly it gives other teams this avenue to get back in.
Yes, and that's been the big thing. It does feel like Maryville have kind of been exposed, that teams have learned how to play up against them because the first part of the round robins, they were looking good. They were at the top of the stand. Well, not top. They're in the first half of the standings, had a nice even split. But since the second part of the round robins, they have been struggling pretty bad. They haven't gotten a single 2-0 themselves. They've been 0-2'd 3 times already. So it is getting really rough for them, especially because they are still in that fight for the bottom to avoid the promotion tournament.
That's right. This is their first split here, our first collegiate representative in Maryville University, and their backs are against the wall. As we said, their upcoming matches, as a reminder, after Wildcard, are FlyQuest Challengers, Cincinnati Fear, who are turning things up, and Team Fish Taco, who we just saw in our first series of the day. Much like Team Fish Taco's chances, Maryville's only real, quote-unquote, easy game is going to be that last one, but they are still under a lot of pressure to try and succeed and turn things around. And Josh, I kind of want to go to you real quick. Like, what do you think Maryville need to kind of bring that consistency back? Because if we look at individual players, I mean, we could say good things about a lot of these guys.
I mean, for consistency, I don't know if that's possible coming from Maryville, right? The way that Maryville loves to play comes with so much confidence up on the top side of the map, and if Niles and Orange in particular, when they're right, I mean, they look fantastic, but sometimes they play on the edge of what is possible, just like ONAT does, and when they're wrong, unfortunately, that's when things go around, but they will always be willing to say, we are better, we're going to outplay them, and so much of that has been leading to really strong performances, but also games that are just not close. If we want to see a bit more consistency, I think it'll have to come from the bottom side of the map. Zyko and Scary Jerry have shown improvement so far throughout the second part of the round robin, and if they can start finding some wins from that side, maybe that's their way to do it.
Yeah, I think that is something that Maryville could look to kind of grow more and more, is playing around the bot side, but then you're leaving Niles here on an island, and up against someone like Zamudo, who we were talking before, his Rumble being such a big pick for Wildcard that has given them so much control in the top lane, that can make it really difficult for Maryville, where a lot of their game plan is get Niles ahead, have him TP into the bot lane, get Scary Jerry ahead, snowball from there.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, right, I've said this before, one of the main reasons why challengers are not allowed to duo is because this top side, right? Niles and Orange were two of the biggest abusers of duo queue back in the day, consistently putting any top lane they played against into the dirt.
Yeah, it's been a tough go in solo queue until that change ended up coming through, and it's Maryville who've been having a tough go of it this time around. It's as you say, when they're on, Josh, we've seen some incredible things, them splitting games with quite literally our best teams in this league. But now we're going to switch things over to Wildcard. Before we look at some footage, we have a bit of an interview we took from Samudo talking about the team dynamic a little bit.
What went into this 2-0 from the backroom perspective? What was building up to this?
Yeah, well, Keel kind of gave me like a 10-hour lecture on how I need permanent prio top lane. It's just I have to lock in Rumble, I guess. Get prio, yeah, or Renekton.
Gotta lock in Rumble.
Hey, I was talking about it. I was saying that the Rumble has been a big pick for Wildcard, and really, it has gotten them a lot of pressure here in the top lane that I feel like could also pressure back Niles, but I expect that to be permanently banned, and we haven't seen teams do that. Take away the Rumble, make it more difficult for Zamudo to get that priority. I mean, even just not yesterday, on the first day of this week 5, they split their series up against Team Fish Taco, who are at the bottom of the standings.
Yeah, I mean, it has been a bit of a shaky one there for Wildcard. Maybe that is the opportunity here for Maryville. But now we're going to take a look at some footage from Wildcard. This top jungle on the other side here in Zamudo and Keel. It's funny, Keel talked to me a couple weeks ago about how often they review. So I really believe that 10-hour lecture that Zamudo was referring to. But Wildcard, their top jungle, more often than not, are really able to turn things up and find great advantages for their team, Josh.
And I think a big part of this comes about how the way that a lot of teams are trying to challenge Wildcard for the Rift Heralds. Because Zamudo is consistently buying a lot of time. Even when he is getting ganked, he'll trade 1-for-1. He will buy so much space for the rest of his team that, I mean, having all of that priority suddenly means that the rest of his team has the opportunity to set up themselves for the upcoming fights. And as we take a look more at it, I mean, it has been interesting to watch how this squad has continued to evolve. We already knew that they were good before, and it looks as though they have only improved.
Yeah, and now with that being said, Josh, we're almost ready to get started on the series. I got a bit of your opinion. Magical, against my better judgment, I am going to ask you what you think. Before that, though, everybody, spam in chat who you think is going to win. WC for Wildcard, MU for Maryville University. Magical, you got 30 seconds. Sell me on the win cons for both teams.
Win cons for both teams is as follows. Make sure you subscribe and chat if you're a viewer, because that helps promote the players. It helps grow the league. It is great for everything. It's split with the players and the team, so you actually directly help fund a lot of the teams that we have going into this one. If you subscribe to the chat, that is going to be my spiel. There you go.
See, I thought for sure that Alex was going to say the win condition for both teams is to destroy the enemy Nexus.
You know, I also was expecting something along those lines, but I gotta say, Magical, you exceeded my expectations, so I appreciate you for doing so. And as my appreciation, I'm gonna pass it over to you guys because draft is ready. And why don't you take us away for the start of our second series?
See, now I wish I had like an automatic tennis ball thrower off on the other screen that could throw me a tennis ball so I could catch the pass from Beat.
Hold on, I gotta make the.
Oh no, he's gone. He's gone. He's gone. Now we're getting into our game. All right, here we go.
Get dunked on.
Yeah, so my actual win conditions when I look at both of these teams, Maryville, I think it's the tried and true. Get the priority for Niles and Odd Orange in this top half of the map. The Pantheon has been something that has been, I think, really big for Maryville, especially because not only it is a really strong lane opponent to have to face off against, but then having the Grand Starfall to move around the map efficiently without having to TP has given Maryville that chance where we talked about Niles impacting other lanes, the TPs into the bot lane especially. And I think that's really how you're going to find this win condition. With that as well, Odd Orange, his Sejuani, has been something that I think has been one of the best Sejuanis that we've had in Challengers.
Yeah. I also do want to point out that it feels as though the Pantheon has been in a historical counterpick to the Rumble, right? Because whenever you throw up your shield, the Flame Spreader doesn't really do a whole lot of damage to you. You can't really
nothing.
You get a whole lot of push in that regard. And so, As we start looking at this, it is going to be Wildcard banning away the Sejuani themselves, not being willing to first pick it, don't want to give it over, because it has been fascinating to watch that they are one of the few teams who has been shown to flex the Sejuani into different roles. Same thing with the Rel, and as we go into our second half of, or our first half of the picks of the draft, our second half of the draft, you know what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. All right. But going into the actual picks themselves, some of the standouts that are let through the draft that we've been seeing banned a lot more. The Maokai, something that we don't see banned here by either team that easily could be first picked. Kaisa being the other one. We saw the Nico Hover. That is one. Jace is also something that we've seen a lot of priority put onto. And we know that both Soligo and Getback do like to play that champion. So I wouldn't be surprised right here. Jace Maokai probably going to be just the lockdown, because they do have really good synergy with each other. When you get the lockdown as Maokai, then the poke comes immediately after with Jace.
Yeah, I've been consistently surprised that teams have been prioritizing Kaisa as heavily as they have, right? With the changes to the AP builds on 13-13, it's nowhere near as strong, but at the same time, at least Wildcard are getting a little bit of a bait. This Jace really struggles into Nico, both in the top lane and in the mid lane, because it is so difficult to actually use your hammer form. You got to be really good at the wiggle, right? You got to be back and forth, trying to go looking for these opportunities to get these extra auto attacks down onto the Nico, and that is something that only some of the best players in the league have shown proficiency at. But right now, we have a ton of extra range coming up from Maryville's bottom half of the map. The Jace, we are expecting to go for Get Back, and of course, Scary Jerry on this bars. They have a lot of ways to keep Wildcard low HP before the fight actually starts.
And that's the big thing, is that we look at how much poke they have from long range with Get Back and Scary Jerry. Kaisa, we expect eventually we'll have that long range poke, but early into the game, very susceptible to a lot of that burst that can come in from Maryville that they can't really heal up. Nico as well kind of has to be all in a lot of these fights, and unless she can get that right off the bat, she can easily be poked out before anything really commences at the start of the fight. So I really want to see how Wildcard can draft to kind of attack that ability here from Maryville. So far, they've banned away the Braum that could add a little bit of safety for a lot of these heavy engaged champions that Wildcard have so far.
I mean, Wildcard, it feels as though they have to commit even further into the engaged style of gameplay, right? You need to be able to go in and disrupt all the poke that is going to be coming out from Maryville. And so, based on what we've seen so far, Maryville, they can pick more disengage tools. They can pick more ways to prevent Wildcard from actually going for any of these fights. And I gotta say, Janna looking really hot right now, right?
I was about to ask you, I'm like, we saw the Janna hover. I feel like that would have actually been a really good pick. The Vercon's fine, but the Janna, just the disengage you get from that would just be absolutely monstrous here against Wildcard. But they do want to have something that can kind of follow up this Maokai when they do look to eventually engage after they lay down a lot of poke.
And Maryville, I made a claim previously that when Wildcard played a similar composition to the one that Maryville has right now going up against Team Liquid, I made the claim that Team Liquid were the only team good enough to actually overcome this kind of poke composition unless there's a lead that happens in the early game, right? If a poke composition falls behind, the poke composition does nothing. But it looks as though Wildcard, they're hovering some interesting things right now.
I was going to mention that the Nico is not guaranteed for Soligo. While we expect that because it does have a very favorable matchup up against Jace, we have seen Tomio play that into the jungle, but it is going to just be that Lee Sin here picked up for Keel. And that, you talked about the early game. You get this poke comp behind early into the game. That is going to be really difficult to overcome here with the full engage, especially because you do have a lot of non-committal engage on the side of Wildcard.
Yeah, and this gives Keel some more tools to try and be aggressive early. If he can put these characters behind before the game basically starts, it'll help out quite a bit. Because Wildcard, they don't have great damage over long periods of time in these fights, right? It really is going to be putting a lot of pressure on Lens, and he's going to be having to deal with a lot of range issues going into Get Back and Scary Jerry. And so Wildcard, they have chosen to go for this Ornn up in the top side, and as the Poppy comes through for Maryville, I like Maryville's composition a lot. One of the big things that you look at whenever there's a Poppy is saying, you don't get to play this fight, we're going to knock you away, and it makes it very difficult for Wildcard to go for fights. They have to take Maryville by surprise so that Niles doesn't have the chance to charge up the hammer.
Exactly, charge up. Imagine Nico comes in with Pop Blossom. You see the fully charged up hammer, then right as the Pop Blossom's about to pop, woo! Way out of there.
Yeah, there's some really funny interactions that I would love to see from that, where you just knock it into one of your other teammates as they're going by. But with this one, we are going to be watching Keel in particular in this game. He is playing the Lee Sin. He has the most agency for Wildcard early on in the game, and he needs to start putting Maryville behind early. Because if Maryville can get to the second, third dragon with an even or ahead game state, they will be poking Wildcard down so much before the fight even starts.
It's really putting the onus here onto Keel. I feel like even Maryville's composition here is putting everything. You say Saligo, but I still feel like it's more on Keel than it is Saligo.
It is.
The NACL matchup is just the NACL into the chase. You're going to get a lot of priority early into the game. It's more that Keel has to be the one helping out some of these other lanes. Poke in the bot lane there for Scary Jerry, as well as some safety that you can disengage with a Rakan. Top side of the map, Maokai and Poppy. Really difficult to attack because you can get a lot of control here from Maokai, and Poppy also denies both Keel and Zamudo from jumping on top of her.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of pressure that Niles can put out in this matchup. It is basically an even matchup in terms of the actual laning phase if Zamudo can play, and Zamudo has showcased that he is one of the best Ornn players in terms of the mechanics that Champion can actually show. But this is a tough game to be playing the Ornn in, because you need to be very aggressive with the ability to use your ultimate. So, as we look at this one, I'm going to be looking at Keel first on the side of Wildcard, and then Saligo second as the people who are going to be setting up a lot of these plays. Unfortunately, it feels though Dombre is mostly just going to get boxed out by Niles and Orange every time a fight starts.
That's going to be the hard thing. Even though I will say for Wildcard, a saving grace is both Nautilus and Ornn, good non-committal engage that could set up a lot of these fights and make it difficult for Maryville to even set up a lot of the poke themselves. Then you have the answers on the side of Maryville. I feel like this is a pretty good rock, paper, scissors between both sides on how things can go. You have counters across the board for different aspects of the team composition that both are trying to provide for one another. It's really who can get the better setup initially.
So, we are going to be seeing both junglers looking to start on the top half of the map, go for matched starts, as they will be fighting themselves on the bottom half relatively early on, as neither will be starting with Raptors or anything like that. Unlikely to go for switchbacks with the way that they will be pathing. But as we take a look at how some of these early laning phases will go, one of the big things I will look at is Scary Jerry and Zyko have been some members of Maryville that we haven't talked about nearly as much, and it's partly because it feels as though they've been getting outlaned by a lot of other teams in the league.
Especially when you look at this bot lane for Lens and Dawnprey. Lens has been an ADC that, with Masu, have been these two rookies that we've been hyping up all 2023 long, back in spring, and even still continuing here into the summer, as being strong players. And Dawnprey feel like he's just added a lot to that priority, where Lens can play even more aggressively in this lane. Like, look at this.
Wow.
You get the level 2 spike, the Kai'Sa Nautilus, you get that immediately. What can you do as an immobile Varus to fight up against that?
Not a whole lot. That's a lot of HP burned. Dawnbre will take a turret shot in return, but you got to see that Scary Jerry and Zyko were really close to actually matching the level 2 at about the same time, but not able to get the extra cast. I mean, I actually got burned by this really badly in a game of my own when I was supporting, because I forgot to see that one of the casters had survived, and it definitely put Scary Jerry and Zyko in a spot where they don't have a lot of sustain for the rest of the lane.
Yeah, now they are pinned back towards their turret, so they're going to have to clear from underneath the turret. Hopefully, if they can keep it frozen, it will at least give them a little bit of pushback here up against Lens and Dawnbre. And it does actually look like they've gotten it frozen in a pretty good spot. That Odd Orange, you normally focus on how he attacks this top lane, but this is something we wanted to see, and we have been seeing a lot more from Maryville. Is the adaptation as the summer split has gone on, where teams have kind of pinpointed that they love to play around Niles and Odd Orange on the top half of the map. So now they're shifting more to playing around Scary Jerry and Zyko and trying to get them ahead early.
Yeah. And Keel going for a full clear of his own side of the jungle, not necessarily looking to get one of the crabs before the Krugs. Is going to be looking for an opportunity down in the bottom side, and as we said, both junglers here on the bottom half of the map, Wildcard, will be starting up the crab first.
Looks like Odd Orange does want to fight against Keel. Was trying to shove him back towards the turret with the sapling. Saligo going to be the first one on the move. So that way they can secure the Scuttle Crab. Maryville realize they can't really fight back. Smite should be there for Keel, unless Odd Orange. Neither of them have it. Okay, does go to Keel. I got a little bit worried there for a second. Re-engage though, because you just stepped out where you were not welcome. Flash away, but the follow-up from Keel. A nice Bramble Smash back, but the tag there, the snipe out of nowhere. Lens, he doesn't get the kill credit, but they still get the kill.
Wow, fantastic stuff coming out from Wildcard, picking off Odd Orange, one of the best performers here for Maryville, and that's the aggression I was hoping to see coming out from Wildcard. Dombre, ooh,
It was just a
flashes
Hex
in.
Flash. It was a Hex Flash. He just
Yo,
wanted
I thought it was going to be a hook.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a hook too, but it seems that they wanted to fall back a little bit there. No Ignite. Maybe a little worried about the poke that can come out. But let's take a look at this play. Odd Orange, he wanted to maybe steal away the Scuttle Crab with the sapling, but it was a smart call from Wildcard. They have a lot more power than a Maokai Rakan have early into the game.
Yeah, I mean, we get to see this as well. The fact that this
Look at
W lands from Lens, so big. I thought that killed him, but now it's the Ignite still coming through from Donbre on the other side of the fight, but that is some of the early lead you need.
Less than 10 health that he survived on. That just gave that a final tick of Ignite near simultaneously.
Yeah. At the same time, Maryville, it is going to be that kill going over to the support. Not necessarily the most amount of damage, but it will mean that Dombre very difficult to take down early on with the extra money that they have had in their pockets. But at the same time, Get Back doing a good job playing out this NACL lane, not taking too much damage, not going in for anything super aggressive. And now Odd Orange looking to try and interrupt in the lane.
No, he does take a lot of poke right there.
It's a bait. It's bait.
Maybe that's what it is, but it does seem that Odd Orange, now that he is flashless, a lot more difficult to get on top of this Nico, especially now that she's level 6. The Pop Blossom being available. They have to call off the play, but the Hex Flash over the wall from Zyko on top of a control ward. So unfortunately for him, it's going to be the Hex Flash back for Donbre. As you got the Pop Blossom, like I said, from Sligo, looking to lock down Zyko. No escape there for Rakan, or is there? The follow-up came in. Nice Hammer Smash back there from Get Back to keep the support alive.
Wow, great stuff coming out from Get Back and Zyko to escape, but this is a lot of pressure. This is the 3v3 we thought we were getting in the first game. It's happening here between Wildcard and Maryville. And Zyko surviving there, really big. That was a lot committed from Wildcard to try and go for that, and now they're going to be trying to start up the Dragon while they know that Zyko has to reset.
And that's going to be the constellation prize there. Sure, you don't get the kill, but at least you get the neutral objective. You'll take that first Dragon of the game. Though Odd Orange is kind of playing around there. With Zyko so far away from the play, it would be a miracle. That's why Wildcard, they realize, Odd Orange, you're not allowed to be here. They go for the re-engage, but Kyle, he's still alive. Dashing forward, they get the kill and the snipe there as well from Lens. Yet again, not getting the kill credit, but securing this Dragon for Wildcard.
And getting another Dragon, another snipe, like you call out from Lens. Wildcard just a little bit faster. They burst out Odd Orange first, and then Kill very nearly surviving on the backside. But Wildcard, I mean, they're just coming out ahead in a lot of these interactions on the bottom half of the map. It's giving them so many tools to actually compete for some of these later objectives. We were really looking at the second Dragon and the third Dragon where Maryville might be strong enough. And Dombre, in particular, just going with so many of these clutch hooks in order to actually play out these fights. Get Back has to give up so much in order to play. And Dosido! Doesn't matter, but still, love the little mind games from Keel.
And I still think it's funny that Lens, 2 times in a row, the Void Seeker, I'm like, that's surely going to get the kill. Both times it doesn't get the kill credit for it.
Yeah. Still, I mean, good snipes coming through, and so Maryville, they do need to find a little bit more pressure on the map, and so far, it looks like the answer might be Get Back. Same time, the top half of the map, Niles has done a good job maintaining constant pressure, has gotten a little bit more, but Donbre
tried to interrupt. Donbre is able to Spider-Man away, but man, that's a lot of burst damage there for Scary Jerry. The 2v2 kill, they're looking for the second one. Lens flashing barely away from the arrow as we look back to the top lane. Odd Orange, he is trying to 1v1 Keel. Get Back will be here, but Zamudo calling the Forge God with the Pop Blossom on to Get Back. The follow-up damage, flash away. It's going to be a trade of junglers at the moment. Looking for the re-engage onto Sligo to push him back. Niles, he's a lot stronger than you realize. Heroic charge to pick up the kill on Sligo as Niles continues to harass Zamudo, but now it's just a wet noodle fight.
And there it goes, right around Get Back. We were saying this is where the fights needed to happen for Maryville. He's got so much of his team's money, but Maryville walk away with a lead on that one. Another kill coming out for Get Back. And the bottom side of the map too, Scary Jerry and Zyko stepping up and taking down Lens and Donbray in that fight. We were saying Donbray was going to be much tankier. Doesn't matter, you still got so much burst coming out from Scary Jerry. We'll take another look at how this skirmish started in the top side. Oh, that cube missing. Big deal here. That's a lot of damage that doesn't get put down onto Odd Orange. And even though everything comes through, the hammering blow just knocks him right on into the wall.
Also the Pop Blossom hit at the same time as the Call of the Forge God, so they didn't actually properly layer the CC to really chain that onto Get Back, so that Get Back was able to get a little bit more damage that I think turns this fight for Maryville.
Yeah. Lots of small things could have gone better there for a Wildcard, but Maryville, they are going to be the ones walking away with a couple more kills and the Rift Herald at the same time. And Maryville, they don't need to be super ahead when the next dragon spawns. They just need to be even when their poke starts to come online. A Wildcard trying to find a play on the bottom half of the map before that even happens. They have a lot of ults, but Donbray still only level 5.
With Odd Orange nearby, but not close enough. Still got some time until he shows up. Does seem that Maryville will be a little bit more confident now going towards the start. Get Back nearby. Odd Orange has found Keel. They could lock him down forever and a half. The poke from everywhere and a half.
Great
all
play.
the screens away. There was no escape there from Keel as Donbray going to be the next target, and he's interrupted. He couldn't get out of there. The Bramble smash back. He does flash away from one more piercing arrow, but with Lens nearby, Donbray, he'll survive this danger.
Overstaying coming up from Wildcard right there, trying to overforce some of these fights. He's giving a lot of money where it needs to go, but I love Scary Jerry. He sees where the ward was and uses the ultimate there to make sure that Keel had no opportunity to escape. Wildcard and Maryville back and forth between all of these fights. And now, 70 seconds. Oh, the Mudo.
The Mudo getting a bit of damage back. But I kind of want to shift this perspective we were talking about. When we look at Maryville, when we look at Wildcard, right? Because we were saying at the beginning, it feels like in the latter half of the second round robin, teams have kind of figured out how to play against Maryville, and that's why we're seeing more of this adaptation, playing around the bot lane, really trying to set up Scary Jerry to be a big character for Maryville that has been starting to work lately. Well, on the other side, it also feels like Wildcard have kind of been exposed themselves. They're 1-3 here in week 5. Dropping this game puts them at 1-4 in this week, and with TLC last week having a bit of a slump, feels like Wildcard kind of in that position as we're getting close to the end of the season.
That's a really tough spot, right? We got to see that Wildcard by taking down Team Liquid 2-0 in the second round robin, only to trade games with Team Fish Taco immediately after. It asks a lot of questions about how Wildcard will be doing when we start looking towards the playoffs. And so now they are starting to set up for this upcoming Dragon as well. Keel is moving his way towards the bottom side of the fight. He's done a good job farming. At the same time, Scary Jerry, already on this completed item, has the red buff. They need to attack him before the team can set up.
Oh, look at the TPs. They're looking for a full dive here. Donbray's a little late to the play. Lens might die before anybody can back him up. There he goes. And now with Saligo on the other side,
That's a jungler.
will fall to the turret itself, but they can re-engage because they got Niles getting a lot of damage onto Saligo and onto Keel. Donbray still pinned under the wall, waiting for the re-engage from Zyko, but not going to be able to tag it. The death charge on the other side. That's going to be a nice shock blast coming in from Get Back. The turret will be toppled by Maryville. It is a trade of 1-for-1, but they're coming out ahead.
And they are going to be able to move over towards the Dragon first. Odd Orange will be able to get in, and Zamud on the top side, yeah, he'll get a couple of plates for himself, but with no teleport, cannot participate in the fight. And there's a teleport actually coming out from Get Back to make sure that Zamudo doesn't get another one. Big win coming out from Maryville, and we should expect that another fight can be brewing around the Dragon.
And especially because Keel back on the map, Lens, Odd Orange, you already talked about it. Everyone is going to be starting to group around, but it does seem that Maryville, instead of going for the Dragon itself, have moved towards the top half of the map. They want to really contest over that second Rift Herald of the game.
We've also seen a theme starting to arise, which isn't particularly surprising, but is worth pointing out. Maryville is committing with more members to plays than Wildcard has been, right? We've been praising Linz for going for the snipes, but that's because he's not there. right, we are seeing that it has been slower for him to actually move in for a lot of these engagements, where Scary Jerry is one of the first people on his team to actually go for the fight, and it has been a big reason why Maryville is pulling out ever so slightly ahead. Now, as attention seems to be getting put towards the top side of the map, as the second Rift Herald of the game will be spawning relatively shortly, Wildcard don't seem like they're likely to make the same mistake, as everybody on Wildcard is already moving towards the top side, and Zamudo, with his teleport, can be unmatched by Niles.
And Niles now is going to push out this wave the best he can so he can move up quickly towards the top half of the map, be with the rest of the team. And that's why
Dombre.
we're expecting with Dombre possibly getting caught out here, taking a lot of damage, not going to connect with the Sonic Wave. He's rooted up, and that's so much poke that you're not taking enough to deal with.
Yeah, and that's again another moment where Wildcard are just getting outmanned here by Maryville. Everybody ready to go for the fight. Now doing posturing for a potential dive. We know that's not very likely to happen, but still asking questions of what Lens is going to actually go for. And as Maryville starts to group up, their poke will become very difficult for a Wildcard to actually manage. And so far, they are lining up to go for these kind of fights. They know that in the NA-RAM style of game, they're going to come out ahead.
I do want to kind of bring our eyes to the items for a little bit, because we aren't really seeing the full poke style here from Scary Jerry or from Lens. Both of them going for more of the typical marksman with the Kraken Slayer first item, where, sure, I would argue that Scary Jerry still has a lot of burst damage that he provides with this build, but it isn't going to be quite that insta-give that you have with the AP Vars that we used to see.
True. I mean, shift doesn't work the same. Also, if you go AP at this point, it's kind of trolling based on how much of your AP ratio has been cut. We will see what Maryville will do, but I like the build actually coming out from Scary Jerry. You know you need to be able to take down Zamudo at some point during these fights, because Wildcard have such a big tank that they can't play around. But Maryville, we said they needed to be strong around the second dragon and the third dragon. They've given over the first two already, but if you can get these Cloud Dragons for yourself, it'll make Scary Jerry and Getback's job so much easier as they try and chase down all these members. Why they've already lined up for their Rift Herald, and you can't expect that Wildcard will try and contest them.
There's no way I think they could even contest. It's getting burned down way too quickly. Soligo even realizing that. He's just going to the top lane. He's going to clear out that wave, maybe crash the minions the best he can. But Getback, already going to be back on the map. The rest of Maryville in a great position where they can reset. They've got that Rift Herald now for Odd Orange. We're starting to get some really powerful moments, though. Getback doesn't realize how many members are there. A little bit of disenergy, so he can flash over the wall with the TP coming in from Niles. It is canceled, actually, there from Zamudo, making sure the Poppy isn't going to join. But honestly, I always feel like you wanted to let that happen.
There's a lot of things going back and forth, right? You saw Dombre's ultimate actually gets canceled. They're looking for Psycho.
Psycho's able to battle dance his way out of that one, though. Gotta stay safe for now. Wildcard on the hunt. Trying to get some control back as Maryville. We kind of talked about... I want to bring back the conversation about how they're playing around this bot lane, but it's not like Niles has been playing a bad game. He's 2-0 right now on this Poppy. I'm going to have to put that on a pause because Soligo was attempting a play on a Getback, and now that Keel's here, should be able to pick up that shutdown.
Yeah, that's a lot of money getting picked up by Keel. Really needs it in order to be a big part of these later fights. But like you were talking about, Niles has been kind of left on an island for one of the few times we see in their games, and now Lens needs to be careful.
Lens gets a little bit of distance. Even the smite is more just so that Maryville can get more gold here for Scary Jerry. And they can even look for this play on to Keel. With Keel, no way to escape to Lens.
He's just dead. Zamudo, gonna go for an ult? Does not. It just feels as though Wildcard is uncharacteristically desynced. We've praised them a lot in the past for their setups around a lot of these objectives, going for relatively smart flanks. Now, still just getting caught like that. I mean, that's just a free kill going over towards Maryville. We're starting to get set up for the next dragon, and this could be an opportunity for Wildcard. If they are able to grab this dragon, they are starting to threaten to have the movement speed to actually run down Getback and Scary Jerry. But Maryville, they're so strong right now as they get a couple of their backs in that Getback and Scary Jerry should just be able to beat up on Soligo and Lens before the fight actually starts. And Soligo has not had great opportunities to even look for these flanks, to go for these surprise engages. That has been a hallmark of how well Nico can actually play.
I want to bring back the conversation with Wildcard being desynced. Maryville, they are a team that you never want to be desynced against. This is a team that, even when behind, they play as a unit. They play together. Win or lose, it is always all their members on the same page. And that's something that's going to be difficult for Wildcard to overcome, as the Dragon has been started here by Maryville, but it feels like they're just trying to bait in a fight from Wildcard.
Wildcard, they're looking at Zamudo to be the potential engage for the fight. There he goes.
The other side.
Ah!
Oh no, nobody saw that. Nobody saw that, because now things are going awry. They lose Donbray, but the snipe there from Soligo. Kills on the backline, but look at Scary Jerry getting so much damage. Oh, it's sending Harry there. Nobody can stop him. Very wary. He's getting it down. He's getting the damage. Zamudo flashing away, but Scary Jerry, he couldn't chase us down.
Soligo.
From Soligo. Huge damage. Scary Jerry's still alive. He's looking for the poke as Niles getting chased down. Hunt down, and it's going to be an unofficial quadra kill for Soligo.
Oh my gosh, back and forth all over the place. Oh, the sapling gets another kill. We get round two. We get round two. I gotta say, that was a sloppy fight. This has been a game where there's a lot of unclean play coming through, but at the end, it is Wildcard who came out ahead in terms of kills. The big thing here is, as Zamudo just completely whiffs the ultimate, that's Maryville's time to go, but you're engaging directly into this Pop Blossom, and as the ultimate comes out too late, Soligo ends up taking no damage, and this is just a 3v3 on the backside. But like you called out, Scary Jerry doing a ton of damage on the backside of this fight. Looks like he might be able to carry the entire thing, but they had forgotten about Soligo. What was he going to do? He was waiting this entire time, and by getting all this damage down onto the back line, there's nothing left for Maryville to actually do. But they are going to be the ones picking up the Dragon by moving into the next fight. Win even. That'll get back the completed Muramana. That's Scary Jerry on 2 items. They will have the damage necessary to, again, get Soligo and Lens into a position where they aren't comfortable walking up. As Maryville start to set up a little bit more towards the top half of the map, you should kind of expect them to go for a little bit more of this NA-RAM style, right? They know that they have the damage necessary to actually hit all of these objectives, and Lens needs to be careful.
Okay, Lens is fine. He had that blue trinket there, so he was able to spot that out, but there's a 3-for-5 fight there for Wildcard. I'm sure barely they were able to win that out, and only it was a 3-for-4 because Lens died to the saplings. But look at Soligo. Look at how big this Nico now is with the Void Staff completed, the Hex Tech Rocket Belt already in the inventory, 5-1. That is going to be a lot of burst that this Nico can get, so long as you can have these angles. This really is going to put that onus not on. I mean, this goes back to the conversation where we were saying Keel. We were expecting Keel to be kind of the driving force for the team, and he was trying to do that early into the game. But as you called out, Josh, now that we've gotten to the later stages of the game, it is Soligo that is going to be the driving force for Wildcard.
And I'll be honest, it's not as though Soligo has done anything particularly impressive, right, on this Nico. He's just playing the champion. He's just looking for the opportunities as all the melee champions dive in. It's like, well, here's a Pop Blossom. Donbray.
Oh, Donbray flashing away. Spider-Man interrupted by Odd Orange. No escape there from Donbray, but he's just trying to get the mic on as long as possible. Huge Pop Blossom! And that's the time to strike for Soligo. Dude, there's a damn if he didn't do anything earlier. That was what they needed as Odd Orange took an unfortunate trip. He took a wild ride with Poppy. That's not where you want to be, my friend, fighting inside of the base of Wildcard. You're not supposed to be here. This tree has been planted in the wrong spot. He's going to only waste as much time as humanly possible of Wildcard. With Soligo and Keel both there, they can easily chop down the tree and then TP for the Baron.
Yeah, to get back the only person left alive as Maryville getting ready. Oh, he's the only person. Can he get the poke down? Can he dissuade them?
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. He can TP in. Trying to get back at bay. There's no smite just yet. The poke body blocked by Zamudo, so they'll secure the Turo Baron buff.
Making sure there's no opportunity there. I said there were some funny interactions coming through with the Poppy. That was one of them. Maokai going wee all the way back as Keel is knocked out of the fight, but gotta praise Keel here, looking for the opportunity to get the big kick. He takes Scary Jerry and knocks him directly into Soligo, and we get the alley-oop there. Len's able to provide the extra bit of damage, and what looked like Donbray getting caught ends up being a massive team fight win here for Wildcard. Maryville thought they had a pick, but they're the ones getting turned around.
And with Wildcard now in possession of the Turo Baron buff and a 2,500 gold lead over Maryville, perfect position for Wildcard to start cleaning up everything from Maryville. And that's the synchronization that we were asking for from Wildcard. Getting everyone on the same page. That play, Keel and Saligo, they were both right on the same page.
And now, the question is going to be, how many objectives can Wildcard actually pick up with this Turtle Baron buff, right? They need to start toppling this mid lane turret. They need to take it down so that they can play with more flank opportunities, so you can use the space between the turrets to actually cross from one side of the map to the other.
Looks like they want to get a little bit of damage onto the front line, onto Niles. Zamudo shrugs off a lot of that. Donbray threatening the hook on to Scary Jerry, who has to take the long path away. Even getting Niles back in. Here's coming the call of the Forge God as Niles has been punching back in. He's taken low, still alive as they get the pick on Akil. Still strong with 4 members and a lot of health bars on Wildcard because Niles cannot be a part of this fight anymore.
Man, we got to see, I mean, just how powerful the Maryville disengage can really be. It was only Keel that ends up going down in that fight. We see the Turtle Baron buff. It looks like it's probably going to end up getting no structures here for a Wildcard. They try to take down the mid lane, but again, a rather desynced fight coming out from Wildcard, and Lens taking some crucial shock blasts means that they're not able to get the damage down. It is still a ton of gold coming out for Saligo. He has now completed his 3rd item in the Rabadon's death cap, so he will be doing massive damage to all the squishy members. But we're not seeing the timers come out where Saligo is actually able to consistently get onto them, right? The only time he did was when Keel alley-ooped Scary Jerry right on it.
And that's going to be the big thing. Keel, at this point in the game, he is a kick bot. If he can kick back Scary Jerry, they can win the fight. But it has to be Scary Jerry. This is boiled down to essentially the Scary Jerry show versus Saligo. Because both of them, they've got all the gold for their team. They're the ones in the lead as Wildcard. Even though that last fight, they did lose a member, they still had enough members to retain control of the river, so they get their 3rd dragon of the game.
That means they're getting close to that Cloud Soul, which will help out quite a bit, but Wildcard, with the Turtle Baron buff expiring, it actually looks like they might get about as much damage put onto their structures. Oh, Maryville going to back away instead. But again, they don't even open up the center of the map with that fight. And it's not as though Jace is a bad character later on, right? The real spike that comes out from this character is about to be completed when they have the Surrealist Grudge. And at that point, you're two-shotting Lens with your Shock Blast, right? Lens has to back away. He has to be ready to take 1,000 damage from out of line of sight the entire time. And Wildcard, as they start to set up, it has been a little bit desynced, right? I was praising Zamudo's ore at the beginning. Engages have been lackluster.
Haven't really seen them connect, especially like we said, onto Scary Jerry, who's completed his 3rd item with that Runon's Hurricane, with that spread of extra damage in a lot of these fights. But I'm really looking at Get Back. Once they can get Back, they get that Trailers Grudge, as you talked about, true poke of Maryville. It'll be nearly impossible to deal with as Wildcard.
Did you do that on purpose? Get back?
I did.
Alright, perfect. Well, I'm glad that that was something that we got to see, but still, Wildcard, as the Surrealist Grudge does come out, Lens has to be so careful, right? The poke is absolutely devastating, and he's nowhere close to building up a lifesteal item in order to keep himself relatively healthy. He has to rely on having the red buff. Look at this big play coming out from Niles.
That's a huge flank there, looking for Lens, but Lens immediately paths back to his team, so not going to have that play work out. Niles actually has been spotted out. He didn't realize all the members were there, and he is a lot squishier than I think we realized too. Depth charge pulled back. They can turn on a Zyko, but he dashes away. It's going to be the call of the Forge God tagging him with the Sonic Wave as well. He is slowed down. The engage potential gone there for Maryville as they lose both top and support.
And that's what we were looking at before, right? Maryville commit to everything. They commit to the bit, and Keel, gotta be careful, there's people there.
Okay, Chain of Corruption connect. That's a lot of damage onto Keel as Keel tries to get away, tries to be fancy about it too, but there's just too much damage from Scary Jerry and Get Back. And Saligo flashing forward onto Get Back, getting the poke. They've traded back, but it's going to be a trade back as well. Scary Jerry cutting back, but Lens takes him down. There goes the big carry of Maryville as Lens now takes the reign from Saligo.
Lens? Okay, he's totally fine.
I was holding my breath there because I'm like, is he going to die?
One more tick. I mean, that would have been huge. Wildcard finally pick up the mid lane turret that gives him so much more pressure. But Maryville firing back, Scary Jerry having so much damage, and also, I believe he's the one that actually got the shutdown onto Saligo as well. That was a massive amount of money that suddenly goes into Scary Jerry's pocket as Keel doesn't realize how much pressure Maryville is putting towards the top half of the map. We get to see how much damage Scary Jerry is able to do as well in all of these fights. He gets the big fight there. As Saligo comes around trying to find the Flash ultimate, yes, he ends up trading for Get Back, but look at the amount of money that Scary Jerry picks up off of that. That's 1,000 gold getting grabbed there as well. And Wildcard, they don't get the second turret in the mid lane. That's what they were supposed to be playing for. That's what they got in the first place. It's just that Keel gets caught afterwards.
And the fact that Keel dies, no Baron. No Turo Baron buff can be picked up by Wildcard. It's way too risky with the TPs there for Maryville that they can collapse back onto it. And as we get back onto the map, you can see Maryville slowly wrestling that control over their red side part of the map back from the Wildcard, plus having huge item spikes for themselves. That Shirelda's Grudge has been completed for Get Back, but also a Last Whisper item in the inventory of Scary Jerry. Yeah, Niles, I talked about this before, you're a lot squishier than you realize, and that's why it was a good flash out of there. You gotta play with the team. Donbray, you too, you're not very tanky either. Those saplings are really going to start to hurt these members, especially if Get Back can land some of that poke.
Yeah. Watching Lens in particular, they just go for Scary Jerry.
Charge. He's going to be kited back though. Nobody can get on top of him, but look at Saligo. Look at the angle. Doesn't have flash yet, but he wants to get into the back line. They're not going to get the knock on Scary Jerry, and there goes Lens. Okay, but he's ripped apart. Scary Jerry still firing on all cylinders, kiting away from Zamudo the best he can, but he's getting tagged. He's getting followed up. He's got to get him. Get the fella's breath. He gets the kill, but he dies for it. And on the other side, Orange is fighting with Keel to save Niles' life, but Niles into the wall, trying to shove back. Keel barely alive. But with the reinforcements of Wildcard, they should be able to take this back. Get Back wasn't able to get the step that he needs, so they have to fall back. Only Get Back's alive with 3 members strong of Wildcard.
And we're so close to the Cloud Soul as well. This is looking mighty familiar here, Alex. We did see so much pressure getting put onto Scary Jerry, but this has been one of the crumbling points, right? Wildcard recognized that they can't stand up. They cannot take these siege situations. They just need to go, and Dombre able to walk up close enough, just throw the ultimate down onto Scary Jerry, get the fight started, and get Maryville to a spot where they cannot reform their battle lines. They get all the damage necessary, and his Lens gets in, even though he gets instantly bursted, buys enough space for Zamudo on the tank to dive into the backline.
And all he's doing is he's standing there menacingly, chasing down Scary Jerry, burning him with the Sunfire Cape.
Yeah. It's the top lane dream. You just do damage in a circle. We go back to the other side of the fight, right? Niles does a pretty good job staying alive for a lot of this, but doesn't have the HP necessary when too many members of Wildcard come through. They end up finding everything, and I have to imagine when we come back, they'll be rewarded with the Cloud Soul as well.
Yeah, Cloud Soul, but there is going to be a fight. It's Donbray. He's going to be a casualty picked up by Maryville. There goes that point-and-click CC on a Scary Jerry. Now out the window for Wildcard. Baron is on the table if they want to peel back, but they still got to pick off Keel if they want it.
Still looking for an opportunity, right? And now Saligo, he does have the flash and the ultimate up again. You have to be very careful trying to play in the Baron pit, going up against the Nico, but Wildcard.
Look at this, Maryville. They're calling the bluff. They're trying to force the play, trying to force the fight. Zenko's on the other side. Call of the Forge Goddess now is going to the back line with a flash forward from Saligo. There goes Scary Jerry, even if they're secure on to the Baron. It's there for Maryville. What happens afterwards? Can you retain the buff? It seems nigh impossible as Odd Orange, he's focused down by these members of Wildcard. 2 members will retain the Turo Baron buff of Maryville, but they will lose Odd Orange for it.
That's a lot of gold, though. That's a lot of gold they pick up with the Turo Baron buff, and we have seen that Maryville, they're really good in these pick situations. Saligo, this is bold.
Saligo? He's got a lot of damage here on to Niles, but Niles goes into the brush, tries to go back. Oh, Niles!
Yeah, that was kind of illegal from Saligo, but hey, they're still going to get the mid lane turret off of it. They will open up even more of the map, as this is going to be Wildcard trying to find something while Maryville is the one with the Turo Baron buff. It looks like we are setting ourselves up for an Elder Dragon fight, and based on what we saw at the beginning of the day, based on what we've seen from Wildcard historically, very surprised to actually find our way here, but Maryville have fought them tooth and nail every step of the way. And Scary Jerry and Get Back, they just need to make sure that they are not in range of Dombre or Zamudo for these fights to actually get started.
And with stopwatches for both Get Back and Scary Jerry, does give them a little bit of extra safety. But Maryville chasing down Zamudo the best they can. They are going to go for the CP play. They've got to keep in mind, there are members there of Wildcard to try to disengage Sligo. Only a couple seconds left until he's going to respawn and can TP back for the play.
Doesn't have the flash, but he does have a couple wards. Oh, he's going already!
Yeah, look at that. That is a deep ward, too, that he can TP to. And guess who it's on top of?
Oh, boy!
Jerry's gone! Sligo popping the back line! It's easily routing Maryville. Wildcard, they can rely on Sligo to save the day.
Sligo having a massive game yet again. 11-3 and 12, finding some crucial ultimates. And he finds the big one. Maryville never able to set up in these situations. They're never able to get the poke down that they need to because Wildcard constantly finding the engages over and over again. And this could be the end of the game with only Get Back and Niles trying to save it.
They do have the Turo Baron buff still there for Niles, but now it's the heroic base defense. Can you muster it left, Maryville? Get Back had to go golden, and Donbray would take the tower. He still survives. They've lost Get Back. Their wave clears. Niles can't even get to the minions, but he has cut it for now. Zeit goes back up, but all you have to do is rinse and repeat. The quickness comes in, looking for Donbray. Goes golden and Zyko. They're getting low, but they might get the turret. They've lost Zyko, but Scary Jerry's here. The base defense. Maryville keeping the game going. Chain of corruptions onto Zamudo. Mellow's breath does not stop the shutdown going over to Scary Jerry.
And the game is saved. The base is open, but the game is saved. Niles dragging away the minions for so long keeps the Nexus turret actually standing. If there's any team that knows how to play around these base defenses, it's going to be the Maryville squad. But the next fight, we got to see, it's a minute and a half. It's going to be coming around this upcoming Elder Dragon. But Sligo, massive flank coming through this little minion, and this is what we've been needing to see from Wildcard this entire time. They finally sync themselves up. They finally get Zamudo's ultimate from a long range while Sligo can actually go for a flank. I think it's the first flank Sligo has gone for this entire game, and it's the one that potentially wins them the game.
Everything else has been straight up chasing him down, like front to back, where he's just running at them. That time was a true and thorough flank from Sligo. And what a time for it to happen, to kill Scary Jerry, who still has that stopwatch in his inventory. He didn't even have time to pop it. That's how quick he died previously.
Now Wildcard, they do need to find another opportunity, as it is Maryville who are the ones who have set up for this dragon. They are in control, and when you just line up to siege,
Only going to benefit the side with Sligo and Nico waiting for the punt back. They're getting a lot of damage onto Zamudo, but that's a depth charge onto the backline. One goes forward, but Niles is taking so low. It flashes away, but they've cut down the tree. They're going to cut down Zyko. Triple kill for Lens. They're chasing these ones down. A killer instinct there for Wildcard. Penta, penta, penta.
Penta, penta.
You know that Niles, they know that they want it. Get Back trying to get away, but they're just keeping Get Back pinned down. The snipe not there for Lens. It will possibly be stolen away. An ace for Wildcard, and you better bet the game is theirs.
oh, so close to so many of these pentas coming through, but Keel already in the base. Donbray bringing up the wave as well, and Maryville crumbling at the end. Wildcard fighting another fantastic team fight, taking down the Maryville backline, taking down the Maryville frontline, and Wildcard, we had questions, but they finally closed it out.
They're able to get everything working on all cylinders there at the very end, and with a Nico Leeson composition that can get onto that back line, making it Scary Jerry's life impossible on this immobile marksman. When you look at the damage graph and you look at the gold graph, I mean, it should be to the surprise of nobody that it's Sligo well ahead of the pack, but Lens is not too far behind either.
Yeah, I also love all the canyons and mountains that we see currently in that gold graph, right? Seeing how you can actually take this one down, but it is going to be Wildcard that comes out ahead. Some fantastic fights coming out. It took them a long time to actually find the synchronicity required to go for those fights, but I mean, you have the time to do it. That's all that they needed.
They just needed time, they needed things to work out, and eventually they were able to find everything perfectly. So they pick up game one here for Wildcard over Maryville University. And before we toss to a break, we do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Turo. The LCS Challengers League is brought to you by Turo, the world's largest car sharing marketplace where you can book any car you want for just about any occasion. Forget your boring car rentals over at Turo.com. Head over to Turo.com, get yourself an awesome car that you can rent for just about any occasion. We'll see you on the other side. We'll bring back Beatdown for our Rally Cry halftime show. We'll see you there.